It's wonderful to be back with you, the audience of Mysterious Ghost Stories. Today, we'll delve into everyday paranormal tales shared by our listeners from across the country. If you find this eerie story captivating, don't forget to like and subscribe, ensuring you won't miss out on more chilling stories from every corner of our nation. And if you're feeling brave, share this video with friends who enjoy a thrill. To begin our program, we have a particularly strange story sent in by Nam. Nam hails from Tra Vin, and this incident involves a high school friend. Recently, they reconnected, and Nam heard the complete account. After listening, he felt both fear and sympathy for his friend. For the sake of privacy, he has asked to change the names of the couple involved. In high school, Nam shared a route with a few friends. By shared route, I mean their high school was quite far from the town center. Nam lodged in town, and every weekend, they would journey home together. Of course, they only shared a portion of the long journey as they neared home. Each would branch off in different directions, as they didn't all live in the same neighborhood. Among them, Nam mentioned that Lam and Lin lived closest to his house. First was Lam's house, then Lin's, with Nam's nestled in between. Lam had a motorbike, while Lin's family wasn't as well off, so she only had a bicycle. Cycling from town to her house was a long and tiring journey. Seeing this, Lam often gave Lin a ride home. Nam, on the other hand, was chauffeured by his older sister. Such rides to and from school were commonplace. However, over time, Lin developed feelings for Lam. Everyone knew Lam had a crush on another girl in class, occasionally making handcrafted gifts for her. Lin was aware of this. But feelings are unpredictable, so things continued as they were. In 11th grade, Lam and the other girl officially became a couple. This girl was understanding and didn't get needlessly jealous, still allowing Lam to take Lin home each week. Lam's girlfriend lived in town, so whenever her parents permitted, she'd ride along with the group to Lam's house. Lam's family had a beautiful mango trellis that she adored. They dated until almost the end of 12th grade, when Lam's behavior toward his girlfriend suddenly became strange. He stopped inviting her over, and his words became curt, almost hateful. However, people noticed that when Lam looked at his girlfriend, his eyes still held warmth and affection, not the animosity he outwardly displayed. It was as if there were two different people inside him. Friends inquired about the issue, but Lam brushed it off, claiming nothing was wrong. Eventually, the girlfriend lost interest. Teenage love is like that. If they like each other, great. If not, then that's it. No one wants to chase someone who obviously dislikes them. Soon after their breakup, Lam got together with Lin. Everyone was shocked. No one expected things to unfold that way. After graduating, Lin's family faced a sudden hardship, forcing her to drop out of school. Surprisingly, Lam refused to continue his studies as well. He spent his days running around trying to find Lin. People whispered that she must have used some kind of love potion on him, that he was so infatuated. Lam's mother even considered consulting a shaman, but Lam vehemently opposed the idea. Besides, Lam's father didn't believe in such things and strongly objected. So they continued dating. Lam's mother didn't like Lin. partly because Lynn's father was a heavy gambler and drinker, partly because she found Lynn's face unsettling. As she put it, "How can a girl have such a gloomy face? Marrying a wife like that, how can you prosper?" But the more she protested, the more Lamb pursued Lynn. When they turned 20, Lamb announced to his parents that Lynn was pregnant and they had to marry immediately. His parents were stunned. Of course, they had to agree, not liking his daughter-in-law. Lamb's mother made things difficult. There was only a ceremony at the bride's house. No bridal procession. After the reception, the couple had to make their own way home and enter through the back door. Lynn was furious and insisted on moving out, refusing to live with her in-laws. Lamb catered to his wife's every whim. Whatever Lynn said was like an order, and he had to comply. Seeing this, Lamb's siblings told their parents, "Just let them move out. Whatever hardships they face are their problem. Living together and constantly bickering isn't good." Lamb's parents then built a house for the couple on a piece of land quite far from their own. Toward town, they opened a store distributing fertilizers and pesticides, then let the couple move out. At home, Lynn always stayed inside, avoiding everyone, while she lived with her in-laws. Everyone resented her. By the time they officially moved out, Lynn was heavily pregnant, about 7 or 8 months along. In general, their business was successful, mainly because the path had already been paved for them. Moreover, Lamb was good at trading, so finances weren't a major issue. Once, Lamb's mother visited their new home to check on the business. When she arrived, only the young employee Lamb had hired was there. The couple had gone for a prenatal checkup. She entered the house, looking around to see if they kept things tidy. She noticed a small altar hanging on the wall. There were no pictures or statues, just a plain altar with something resembling a large talisman inside the incense burner. She waited for the couple to return so she could ask what they were worshipping. Afraid they had been misled into worshipping something inappropriate, Lamb said, "I don't know. Ask your daughter-in-law." Lynn replied, "It's just a family tradition. Now that we've moved out, our parents asked for a charm to keep the house warm." His mother was skeptical. She didn't fully understand their culture. Because Lynn's family were Khmer, she asked around in the neighborhood, which was predominantly Khmer. However, she didn't say it was her daughter-in-law, but the daughter-in-law of her business partner. People told her, "That's not true. That girl must be using black magic." She was horrified, but on second thought, since Lynn had come to their house, even though they didn't like each other, everyone had been healthy. It was only Lamb who had been obsessed with Lynn from the moment they met. Obsessed to the point of disregarding everything else. So she thought, maybe she cast a love spell on my son to make him infatuated. But everything has already happened. They're married and expecting a child. What's the point of exposing it now? She was constantly troubled by this thought. She confided in her best friend, who was also the mother of one of Lamb's classmates. That's how the friends knew the story so well. A long time passed, maybe 5 or 6 years. By this time, Lamb and Lynn had 2 children. The youngest was almost a year old. Once, at a class reunion, Lamb attended and seemed cheerful when asked about his business. But when asked about Lynn and his family, he seemed evasive, so his friends didn't press him. Later, They learned that the couple had been fighting at the time. Apparently, Lamb was having an affair. Now, you're probably wondering, how could Lamb, who was under his wife's spell, be involved with someone else? Well, Lamb's business was thriving. He had opened 2 or 3 more stores and hired people to manage them. During meetings with business associates, Lamb met a woman a few years older than him, divorced and raising a child on her own. This woman liked Lamb and had bought goods from him several times. But it was only then that they actually sat down and talked. People whispered that this woman also practiced powerful black magic, frequently traveling south 2 or 3 times a year, for unknown reasons. From the moment Lamb met her, he changed, no longer as obedient to his wife as before. The couple argued, something that had never happened before. The peak of their discord was when Lamb slapped Lynn across the face. Heartbroken, Lynn took her children to her mother-in-law, Lamb's mother, and tearfully confessed that she had used magic. Lynn revealed that she had cast a love spell on Lamb back in high school. The altar was for the master she followed, who instructed her to bring it home to maintain the spell. She recounted that every time he appeared, demanding something, she had to find it to offer as a sacrifice, maintaining the spell for years. Recently, the magic had lost its power. Lynn had gone to her master, who said that the spell had been suppressed. His spell was still on Lamb, but another, stronger spell had suppressed it, causing Lamb to act according to that person's wishes, not his wife's. Can you imagine how Lamb's mother felt at this moment? Utterly heartbroken. Her child, whom she had carried and raised, was now being controlled by one person after another through black magic, forcing him to do things that were not his true thoughts or desires. Enraged, she scolded Lynn severely, but it was too late. What could she do? Lynn had given her 2 grandchildren, admitted her mistakes, and confessed everything. As a parent, how could she not help? She confided in her best friend again. The 2 of them went from one shaman to another, but everyone shook their heads. They said the other master was too powerful and they didn't dare to interfere. Besides, this was the couple's karma, and their families could only stand by and watch. At most, they could do good deeds and accumulate merit for their descendants, easing their burden as much as possible. Oh, it was so depressing. As Kua recounted it, I felt like I was in that situation too, not knowing what to do. During that time, Lamb's mother was so worried that she lost a lot of weight. Seeing her so thin, people inquired about her health. Finally, they found out who was interfering in her son's family. The woman he was having an affair with. She went to the woman's house and was shocked to find Lamb there. She berated Lamb and dragged him home. Before leaving, she cursed the woman. She said, "I'll sue you for destroying someone else's family." The woman was furious, but helpless because she was clearly in the wrong. The law was there, and what could she argue? About a month after that incident, Lamb constantly beat his wife, demanding a divorce. But Lynn would never give up so easily. She loved Lamb so much. Lamb beat Lynn so badly that Lamb's mother went from hating her daughter-in-law to feeling sorry for her. She said, "You and the children should come live with me. Leave that house for Lamb to do whatever he wants. I only consider you my daughter-in-law. He won't get away with bringing anyone else here." But Lynn refused. She was blinded by love. No matter how much Lamb beat and cursed her, she clung to him. Lamb then started beating his own mother. The two old women went to snatch their grandchildren back. They scolded him terribly, and the mother even grabbed a broom and beat him. Then she took the two children back. The next day, something happened. People ran to tell them that Lamb had killed his wife. The couple were horrified. They left the two children with the neighbors and rushed over. The scene was indescribable. Lamb had been tied to a pillar, and Lynn lay dead on the counter. Her body was completely covered in wounds. Lamb's mother fainted on the spot. People gathered outside the yard. Lynn's family also arrived, and it took a lot of effort to stop them from tearing Lamb apart. They managed to put Lamb in a car and take him to the police station. The young employee said that the couple had been arguing, and Lamb had asked Lynn to sign the divorce papers. But she refused. Lynn said, "I'd rather die than sign." That sentence cost her her life. Lamb ran to the back, grabbed a meat cleaver, and shouted, "If you want to die, I'll let you die." The young employee said his face turned pale at that moment. He cried, "Lamb, calm down." Lamb pointed the knife at him and cursed. He was terrified and ran out, screaming for help. When he and others ran back, they saw Lamb holding Lynn's head down on the counter, hacking at her repeatedly. Lynn collapsed, and blood splattered everywhere. Lamb nearly severed her head. Her back and arms were covered in wounds. Only her legs were unharmed because she was sitting on a chair. Lamb was holding her head down so she couldn't move. People guessed that Lynn thought her husband was just threatening her, so she didn't run. Usually, when someone sees a knife, they run. The scene was incredibly haunting. The house was cordoned off. Lynn's family was heartbroken and set fire to the house. People tried to put out the fire, but it was badly damaged. Then they went to Lamb's parents' house and caused trouble, demanding their grandchildren back. Local authorities had to mediate and persuade them to calm down. Everyone reacts differently to the same situation. Even ourselves. If we were in that situation, each of us would have different ways of solving it. Returning to Lamb's case, when people asked Lamb why he killed his wife, he only replied that she wanted to die. People told him to kill her, so he did. When asked who those people were, he said he didn't know. He just heard them. But Lamb kept muttering, "I hate Lynn. She deserves to die." People suspected Lamb was mentally ill and took him for examination. The examination showed that he did have some mental abnormalities, but they weren't clear. They were ambiguous, making it difficult to understand his case. Sometimes he seemed genuine, sometimes he seemed to be pretending. While waiting for Lamb's trial, the people in the neighborhood were haunted by Lynn's spirit. Every evening, the two houses on either side of Lamb's house would close their doors, afraid to go outside, because they would see Lynn. People said they saw her shadow walking back and forth in front of the house. The shadow shining brightly, looking very scary. If they only saw her, they wouldn't be so afraid. But they would get sick or dream about Lynn. One of the men in the neighborhood didn't believe it. He secretly watched for an hour but didn't see anything. He went home and told everyone that it was nonsense, that people were scaring each other for no reason. He said a lot, speaking loudly. That night, he dreamed about Lynn, seeing her climb down from his roof, jump into his stomach, and stand akimbo, asking him, "You came to find me?" He was terrified and screamed. Lin then kicked him in the chest, making it impossible for him to breathe. He gasped for air, and Lin bent down to look at him. And her head fell off, hanging by a piece of skin. He struggled wildly, and his whole family woke up and ran to him. He couldn't speak coherently. He just kept saying, "Lamb's wife. Lamb's wife," and pointed. He only managed to say 3 words with difficulty, and it took a while to understand, "Lamb." As soon as he finished speaking, he fainted, and his family had to take him to the hospital for several days because of a persistent fever. His wife cooked a meal and took it to Lamb's house to worship. But she didn't dare to go inside. She just left the meal outside and prayed. Strangely, after the worship, he recovered in the hospital. But after that, his mouth ached for a month, as if he had been beaten. Lin's family, who had been making trouble with Lamb's family, suddenly went silent for a week. Then, Lin's mother came to bring things to Lin's children and sat down to talk with Lamb's mother. She said that the other day, her sister had. Here's the requested translation and rewrite, incorporating the interpret and clarify style with slight expansion. After Lin's passing, I went to pay my respects, lighting incense at her altar. As soon as I finished, her sister was overcome with emotion, bursting into tears. At first, everyone assumed she was simply grieving for Lin, but her crying intensified, turning into wails of pain and resentment. We exchanged worried glances, realizing that Lin's spirit had possessed her sister. Lin cried for a while before urging the family to stop harassing Lamb's family. The root of the problem, she said, began with her own actions. If she hadn't used a love spell on Lamb, things wouldn't have escalated to such a tragic outcome. Lin recounted the entire story in detail, revealing that the other woman, driven by hatred for Lamb's mother for scolding her, had cast a spell to make Lamb despise his wife. From beginning to end, Lamb was a victim caught between 2 women. Blaming him felt unjust. And while our family struggled with poverty and hardship, that cruel woman, Lin, said that she would face the consequences for her actions in due time. So we should leave it be and not seek revenge. After saying her piece, Lin's spirit departed. Lin's mother realized that if the story was true, Lamb's family were the ones deserving the most sympathy. This led to the conversation we had today, where the 2 mothers-in-law sat together, sharing their grief and weeping uncontrollably. At that time, Lin's youngest child was just over a year old, and she cried incessantly at night. Almost every night, starting around midnight. Before Lin died, we would ask how she was doing, and they would always tell us she was well behaved and slept soundly. One day, Lin's elder child made a statement that sent chills down the spines of Lamb's grandmother and mother. The child said, "I see Mom come back at night and hold me while I sleep. But Lee cries whenever she sees Mom." The grandmother asked, "You mean your mother comes back every night?" The child nodded and asked, "Didn't you notice Mom lying next to you sometimes?" She said she just came to hold us for a bit before leaving. Lamb's mother stayed quiet and sometimes would break down and cry. The grandmother was convinced children don't possess the imagination to invent such spiritual encounters. She felt both fear and deep compassion. On the anniversary of Lynn's death, the grandmother took the two children to Lamb's family home. It was the first time she had dared to return since Lynn's death, because of how badly they reacted when she first passed. She brought fruit, roast duck, all the things Lynn had loved when she was alive, as offerings. She prayed to Lynn, begging her not to visit the children in that way, as it was causing them distress and sleepless nights. She offered the prayers in the morning, and that night, she dreamt of Lynn. Lynn stood outside the door, filled with sadness, but not entering. She clearly heard Lynn's voice saying, "Mom, please take care of the children for me. I miss them so much." Hearing that, the mother cried uncontrollably, understanding the unbearable pain of a parent. And there are many more stories to tell about Lynn's lineage. From the very start, we mentioned that Lynn's father was a depraved man, indulging in drinking, gambling, and all sorts of vices. Right? And especially when he would come home drunk. He would cause trouble and beat Lynn's mother. But after Lynn's death, he gave up drinking. It wasn't out of love for his wife and children, but because of this. One day, he came home from a wedding. Already drunk, he grumbled and cursed about something, starting from the street and continuing into the house. It turned out he had overheard people discussing Lynn's involvement with black magic. He knew the rumors were spreading, and people were gossiping about it. He felt ashamed and agitated. He started an argument with his wife, accusing her of failing to raise their daughter properly. She retorted, and that was all it took for him to attack her. Lynn's mother had always been submissive, but this time, he was disparaging her deceased daughter, and she couldn't bear it. So she fought back. They started fighting. He became enraged and grabbed a thick wooden club, nearly the size of his leg, and charged from the yard, sweeping across the altar, knocking everything to the ground, smashing it to pieces. People living nearby heard the commotion and rushed over, but they could only shake their heads, unsure of what to do. After his outburst, he went to bed, indifferent to everything else. That evening, his wife was so angry that she refused to cook dinner, and instead went to their fourth child's house. But later that night, she grew anxious. She worried that if she left him alone, he might have another fit and do something crazy, maybe even set the house on fire. Hearing this, their son offered to drive his mother home. They arrived to find the house empty, the door wide open, leading them to believe he had gone out drinking again. The mother told her son to go home, since it was late. As her son turned to leave, he heard a faint, agonizing moan. He went back into the house, grabbed a flashlight, and searched around until he found his father sitting outside, his back turned, slumped on the ground. He approached and shined the light, asking, "What are you doing sitting here? Dad, come inside." But the father didn't respond. As he drew closer, he cried out in horror. His mother started screaming and panicking, not knowing what to do. The father was clutching his arm, covered in blood, moaning in pain. The amount of blood indicated that the injury had occurred some time ago, and he was too weak to move inside. He noticed a trail of blood leading further away. Rushing to the spot, he saw a machete and half of his father's hand lying on the ground. He was so shocked, he nearly fainted. The two of them struggled to take him to the hospital. On the way, no matter what they asked, the father only repeated, "Lynn, Lynn, Lin. In the end, they couldn't reattach his hand. The injury was too old, and the wound had become infected and gangrenous. So they had to amputate at the wrist. Later, after he had calmed down, he explained that while he was sleeping, he had heard Lin's voice nagging and scolding him, mainly about his drinking and causing trouble. Enraged, he went to the back of the house, grabbed the machete, and said, "I'm going to chop your daughter into pieces so she stops nagging me." He said that as soon as he stepped outside, he lost all awareness. When he regained consciousness, he discovered half of his hand was severed, lying next to the machete. The spot was near a tree stump he had cut earlier, but hadn't removed. It was as if the stump was a chopping block. He must have placed his hand on it and chopped it off himself. The pain was unbearable, and he tried to crawl inside, but couldn't make it and collapsed there. He said he was waiting to die. Lin was still there, pacing behind him, grinding her teeth. He said he was terrified, and swore to quit drinking and causing trouble, and never to disrespect his wife and children again. As for the woman believed to have cast the love spell on Lam, though no one can definitively confirm it, I heard that her business failed, and she was scammed out of all her money, cheated on deals, and so on. I also heard that she had an affair with a married man and was brutally attacked by his wife. Looking back at the whole story, it's clear that no one had a happy ending. It's especially heartbreaking for the innocent people caught in this forced emotional entanglement. Hearing the story of Lam's family evokes complex and indescribable emotions. In fact, the person telling this story learned about it when Lam was sentenced. But the full, detailed account was shared later, and that's when they wrote it down and shared it with us. Thank you very much for sharing such a bizarre story. We at the channel, Spooky Stories, don't use the word good to describe it because of how tragic and unfortunate it is. In fact, the main characters in this story, for the most part, are victims of the three poisons: greed, hatred, and delusion. Unable to control themselves, they committed wrongful acts out of greed, hatred, and delusion in order to obtain what they desired, ultimately creating heavy karma and facing the consequences. Thank you for sending in such a bizarre story for the channel. I wish you and your family good health. Thank you everyone for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed this eerie and fascinating story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on other mysterious ghost stories from all over the country. Please share the video if you want your friends to experience the feeling of suspense and chills. Once again, thank you for joining the channel, Spooky Stories. Wishing you a good night's sleep and good health. See you in the next stories.